I'm doing a critique of the Democratic candidates debate that took place on Sunday, and I had a lot of problems with it. This debate basically was supposed to be hosted, well, actually not hosted, but it was in affiliation with the Congressional Black Congress Institute. And obviously, with that name, obviously it's a black functionary. The problem I had with this debate was that no issue or question that specifically addressed an issue for the black community was addressed for the first 15 minutes. Then, in the next 5 minutes, one additional issue that concerned the black community was addressed. Now, the issues that were addressed in the first, let's call it 20 minutes, was specifically about criminal justice. After that, there was not a single issue relative to the black community that was spoken about until the last 5 minutes of this debate. And the only reason this issue, which specifically had to do with the water problem in Flint, Michigan, had to be brought up by Hillary Clinton, and she spoke to it for about 1 minute. And then Senator Sanders basically chimed in for about 20 seconds. In between those periods, 20 minutes into the debate and 111 minutes into the debate, no black community issue was addressed. Now, I understand that it's a Democratic debate, and there are a lot of issues that should be addressed. But for only 3 questions to be asked in a 2-hour time period, to me, is a disservice to the affiliation that the Congressional Black Caucus Institute had with this particular debate. Now, I will say that obviously the ACA does have a place of discussion for the black community, but it also is an overall country issue. The issue of guns was not specifically addressed to the black community, but to the overall community. Campaign reform, again, not something specific to the black community. And the breaking up of the banks, etc., again, not something that is germane to the black community. Now, they did speak to banks, but there was no question as to how the banks caused the decimation of wealth within the black community, i.e., home mortgage foreclosures. That was never addressed. Education actually was never addressed. They spent a lot of time talking about climate change and the military budget, etc. And then one of the moderators, I believe it was Holt, put out a false narrative when he spoke about terrorism and the fact that a Philadelphia police officer was ambushed. Now, as far as I know, to date, the person that did this act was a mentally deranged person, and he was a vet. And yes, he was screaming, some ISIS slogan, but the guy was deranged, and he had no ties, no physical ties to ISIS. So, how they could bring that up as a terrorist situation, i.e., yeah, he did make statements, but for it to be legitimate, I had a real problem with it. So, in my mind, if the Congressional Black Caucus was going to be affiliated with this function, basically they spent approximately 20 minutes they spent approximately 20 minutes on issues to do with the black community, and then they spent the balance of the time, which would be approximately an hour and 40 minutes, less another 20 minutes for commercials, an hour and 20 minutes, speaking about everything else. So I don't know. It just didn't seem that the Congressional Black Caucus got its due as far as its affiliation with this event.